This content is brought to you by Scoutz, the strongest Salesforce hub in the Nordics and Poland, bringing tech solutions to Danish banks.
Maciej, it's great to have you here. Please give a warm welcome to Maciej Sukiennik.
Thank you. Okay, you can hear me. I'm so happy to be here and see so many Salesforce enthusiasts arriving at this great event. You already know that my name is Maciej, and before I will move into story of Scoutz, which is the main topic of my presentation, a few words about myself, on top of what was already shared. So, first of all, I'm an avid runner with an experience of over 15, 16 years of running, out of which over 8 years I'm also a running coach, helping other runners to improve their running skills to run faster and more healthy. I also used to compete in so-called obstacle course racing. Probably you heard or maybe you participated in Runmageddon. Anybody who have participated, please raise your hand. Okay, I can see a few people, 10 people, almost, okay. So this is a photo from Berlin, September 2018. That was another event, Spartan race. And actually I managed to win that competition. So that was one of the greatest moments of my life. I was super happy. I still remember this day in Berlin. And if you think that this is a little bit too healthy and I'm bragging about that, I'm also addicted to dark chocolate. And believe me, dark chocolate is not healthy if you eat 1 or even 2 chocolate bars per day. And in order to prove you, I have this photo. So this is my last day in previous company. My colleagues knew about my addiction, so I got around 30 bars of dark chocolate. Fortunately enough for me, I was brave, so I handed over to my colleagues, and I ended up with just 5 or 6 chocolate bars, which of course disappeared in 2 or 3 days. And it was already mentioned that when it comes to Salesforce, I started my professional career actually around 10 years ago, and one of the first windows I opened on my laptop, on my PC actually, at that time we didn't yet have laptops, we had stationary PCs, was Salesforce. And since that time I was the end user. Later on I became a manager who was overseeing a team of professionals that were maintaining and developing Salesforce for my previous company. And over here at Scoutz, I am supporting a Salesforce platform team, and we are responsible mainly for overseeing DevOps processes, release management, and also we are doing a technical setup of the platform, for example, certificates. So, Scoutz story. Scoutz story. First of all, Scoutz is about a big change. Was and still is a big change for everybody who joined Scoutz. And right now I would like to make a promise to you. So I would like you to listen carefully up until the very end, because if there would be just simply one thing I would like to remember, you would remember about my presentation after this conference, this message will be given at the end of the presentation, and it is connected with change. And you are all aware that we are living in times when change is something which is happening on a daily basis. We have smaller, medium, bigger changes. We have changes which are making us scared, excited. There are also changes which we don't even notice because we are overwhelmed with information and different events. And when you think about a couple of recent changes in your professional or private life, let's say change of a boss, change of a team, maybe you recently changed a job place, or in your private life, you moved to another city, you bought a new apartment, or there was another change. When you think about those recent changes, what are your thoughts when you think about something on the horizon, something which you cannot escape from, something which impacts you? What are your thoughts? What are your emotions? Let's stop for a moment and please think about what's then going on in your head. What is you like about the change? What are those things? What are the emotions you like about the change? And on the other hand, what might be the things which are difficult and challenging about the change? And I'm pretty sure that you've been through a lot of changes, especially, working with Salesforce, constant releases, new versions, new features. You need to be really up to date on pretty much daily basis. What's going on, what's cooking in Salesforce. When you think about those changes, are you sure that you can handle any change? Maybe you got used to change so much that you just wake up and think, nothing can surprise me. I will just handle that. That confidence is very important. But maybe on the other hand, your experience and this confidence sometimes is deceiving you a little bit into thinking that you can handle everything and you don't prepare yourself good enough because you think you can just, improvise. So for the time being, I will leave you with those thoughts and doubts. And as promised at the end of the presentation, I will pass a message to you. Okay, story of Scoutz. And yes, here we have Viking developers. So we made a decision with my colleagues, Dominic and Sebastian, to add this leitmotif of Vikings because it's funny, it's entertaining, and we are a Danish company, so Denmark, Vikings, you're connected really well. So who are Scoutz? Let me go back 60 years into the past, 1964. There were some brave Danish banks who wanted to have a partner that would help them out in their IT experience. And this is when BC was founded. And since that time, BC has been delivering a lot of various IT stuff, software, infrastructure. Some of that infrastructure already got outdated, but if something is working, serving well, it's still being in use. However, at some point of time, the speed of world and IT world was getting faster and faster. So those member banks, our owners, came to the conclusion that they need to change something. And on the horizon, they started to see cloud solutions, among them Salesforce. So they asked BEC to start building a Salesforce platform for them. That was a couple of years ago, 6, 7, 8 years ago. However, for 3 big banks, and that were Nicredit, Spanor, and ALB, that was not enough. They wanted to be a little bit more independent, so they also had their own Salesforce teams doing some extra customizations and features. So in this setup, we had from one side BC, that was delivering Salesforce community solution. So it means that whatever we were developing in Salesforce, it could be used by any bank member. And a very important thing, each bank, regardless of the size, they have their own Salesforce production orgs. But again, for those 3 banks, they wanted to be more independent and they had their own teams. So in the short term, everybody was happy with that setup. But as you can imagine, in the long term, this couldn't work well. And why? Some of the reasons why it couldn't work well were, first of all, it was difficult to coordinate. Simply, imagine a football team, normally 11 people, right, in one team. Instead of one team, you have 3, 4 smaller teams. Each team has a different coach, a little bit different strategy, and even though everybody claims to score to the same goal, all these differences are somehow colliding, and we don't get what we could have if we would play in one team. Another one was inconsistent communication. So in Polish, we have something which, to be honest, I don't know how to properly translate in English. It's głuchy telefon, but I believe that this picture is pretty much depicting what do I mean. In order to contact your colleague from another team, another company, you need to go through a lot of people, and then the message is getting back also through a lot of people. Dominic and Sebastian will show an example later. So it's just waste of time, it's inefficient, and the message is, just getting different every time it's being passed between people. Another one was different guidance. As it is simple as it is, already mentioned, 4 different structures, 4 different companies, 4 different bosses, at the end of the day, 4 different guidances, even though we were pretty much going to same direction, and it was called one SAM, which means pretty much one Salesforce setup. Still, there were some small differences, and the longer we were in such a setup, those differences were just simply growing bigger and bigger. And last but not least important, something which in my opinion is somehow a natural law of psychology. So simply, rivalry, competition between teams. If there are teams in different organizations, you pretty much always end up somehow thinking about them as, others. So what to do with those inconsistencies? So when we take a perspective of the bank owners, they, I guess, took a look at the money they invested in all the teams, and then the value they got, the speed of the Salesforce software delivery, solutions delivery. And then somehow after those years, they made the decision that this is not the value they wanted to have. And then from the employee perspective, developers, managers, UXers, testers, POs, this is also not the best experience you can get. Because, as a developer, what would you like to do? Mostly to take the specification, story, feature, write a code or do a setup in Salesforce, test it, put into production, maybe do a hotfix, close the topic, and then move to another project. But because of the setup, because of those inefficiencies, you couldn't always do that. So some of us were ending up a little bit frustrated, angry, and hoping that we could deliver the software faster. So the solution for that was Scoutz. And the idea of Scoutz is pretty simple. We take all of the people from all the Salesforce teams together under new name, new brand, new colors, one team. We can call it one village, and actually we call ourselves one tribe. So at the very beginning, and we kicked off 2nd of January, the first couple of weeks were pretty much about simply getting to know each other better. We knew that going forward, we were one team. We were knowing our names before, but just knowing the name doesn't mean you know the person. And these are the photos that Dominic, you took, I guess, and our colleagues with Instax. So sorry for the quality, it's a scan of those photos. So those first couple of weeks was about knowing better each other. And we were still operating in an old manner, finishing our tasks, ensuring that we can clear our previous backlogs as much as possible. Then a big event happened, 5th and 6th of March in Copenhagen. So this is our entire big team, over 110 people from 3 different locations, Warsaw, here office, Copenhagen and Aalborg. And the purpose of this meeting was to, again, meet with each other face-to-face, know each other again even more better, and also start discussing how we gonna work and what's gonna be the structure. So after this meeting, we started to work in a new setup, which is simply 10 development teams split into 5 banking areas, each team chosen their own name, so we can see different names on this slide, and also cross-functional teams, so-called enablement, UX and architecture, and myself and Dominic and Sebastian, we are part of this cross-functional team. And what is next and where we are right now? So in last 4, 5, 6 weeks, we've been polishing our new processes because idea about Scoutz is not only bringing all the people together, but also to deliver software faster, better quality, and on a more frequent basis. And if you're interested in how we're going to do that, Sebastian and Dominic will share with you a really great insight into that very soon. So right now we are just about to start working in a new setup. So when it comes to Scoutz, this is what I can share with you today. But I hope that next time we will meet, I will be able to tell you more in terms of how our processes did work, so our successes. And I'm pretty sure I will share with you some failures, because thanks to that, thanks to those mistakes, we will be able to improve and create even better processes. And this is not the end. Of course, I promised you one message I would like you to remember. And most of you would think, Maciej, this is obvious, this is natural, I've heard about it. Yes, I also heard about it, but I still forget about it every time there is a change. Even though I know, doesn't mean I always remember and I live with this message. And this message is the fact that fear is a natural unconscious reaction. Lack of fear is very bad. But bravery is a conscious choice. So I wish you that every time you are facing a small, medium, or big change in your life, something which is important, you have energy and also you are brave enough to handle this change, to be prepared, and to take the most out of it. So when it comes to my presentation, that's all. I'm right now open for your questions, very curious about them.
Okay, so do you guys have any questions? Yeah. Do we have any questions? Someone raised their hand or not? No, okay, 2 questions, yeah. Okay, so I'll join you.
Hello? Yeah.
Hello.
Małgorzata. Thanks a lot for this presentation. I have 2 actually. One is operational one, because I was admiring, the visuals. Mid-journey, or is it a graphic designer working on them? Because it's the first time I have seen the presentation that really supports what you are talking about.
Okay, so when it comes to the visualization, pictures, and so on, we used actually ChatGPT.
Okay.
Yes.
And the second more serious question is, like listening to your story, it's a great story. However, the question is like, the company was created, as I understand, in January 2024.
Yes.
And only now, so really like 2 months later, you are like starting to operate.
Yes.
So what was happening in between? Is it like there was a big change management program implemented? So sorry for this operational and organizational question. Yeah.
Yes. So in those 3 months, first we started pretty much moving into a new place. For us in Warsaw, it was maybe not a big change because we remained in the same building. But for our colleagues in Copenhagen and Aalborg, they moved to new offices. So we also need to give them a time to accommodate to new community place. That was a big difference for them. New office, new colleagues. So they needed the time to get used to that. And at the same time, we were also knowing better each other. We were cleaning old backlogs, old features, to ensure that as much as possible we can start afresh. And also the management team, the leadership team, was working on new governance, new release process, new DevOps processes, also new structure, because it was not an easy task to put together all the teams into one structure, while before we were operating in a little bit different manner. Even though everything was agile, Scrum, and so on, there were obviously some differences.
Okay, and I think I saw another hand. Okay, so that's one more question before we go to...
Hello, my name is Dorian. I would like to ask you, am I understand right, this is a one product, yep? That's your product, unique. that everyone can just buy and just handle it and use it. Yep. What about scalability and what about releases? As I understand, there are a dev team that handle all those products. And how about releases? How often they are?
Okay, what you asked about scalability and what about the releases, how they were being handled and so on, right? Pretty much that was the idea. Okay, so in the past, before we moved into Scoutz, we were doing releases, big releases via packages once per month, 10 months per year. So we were not doing that in the months where our colleagues in Denmark were having summertime, because in Denmark there is this habit, or they are having 3 weeks of holidays, a lot of them. So we were avoiding summer. And so Scoutz was also created in order to do more frequent releases. And I don't want to spoil the fun, because Dominic and Sebastian will tell you how often other teams that came to Scoutz were delivering. But I can definitely tell you that we want to deliver going forward big releases that will be available to all of the bank members once per sprint, so once per 2 weeks. So at the same time, we will be able to do it faster, and it will also allow us to have a good control over coordination of so many teams, so many features, and so many so-called subsystems within this big platform. And what else I can tell you about those releases is that we will also changing the way of packaging the code. But again, don't want to spoil the fun. Dominic and Sebastian will tell you that in a second. So I'm pretty sure you will be able to also ask more detailed questions to them. Okay?
Okay, I believe these are all the questions. So thank you so much. But please, if you could stay on the stage, because I would like now ask Paweł Niewęgłowski to award you with our SForce award. Yeah.
Okay, one last sentence from me. My presentation was just simply, believe me, a warm-up. The guys who are coming after me, they are a real deal. So be ready for some really good technical stuff and content. So write down your questions, and Dominic and Sebastian will be there to tell you the story and answer all the questions. Thank you.
Okay.